Before 1848, there was no such thing as women's rights. Nobody really thought about it until two activists, Susan Brownell Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, decided that women should have the same amount of rights as men. This led to a movement that later enabled women to have these rights, such as voting. Susan B. Anthony was born on February 15, 1820. Her father, Daniel Anthony, was an abolitionist, which meant that he was against slavery. Her father believed people should be equal just as Susan did. Susan B. Anthony had such an impact on most women. She founded the National American Women's Suffrage Association with the help of a woman named Elizabeth Cady Stanton. Because of this movement, the 19th Amendment was made. The 19th Amendment states, "The right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation." The 19th Amendment is very powerful. It gives women legal rights and much more. Susan B. concluded, "Men their rights and nothing more. Women their rights and nothing less." Anthony was trying to tell people that when it comes to men and what they want, everything all of a sudden becomes important. But when it comes to women and what they want, nobody pays attention. She wanted to change this because it wasn't fair. Susan B. Anthony helped fight for women's rights and broke the sexism barrier in America. She helped women gain the right to vote and many other rights as well. Other than women's rights, she also fought for civil rights. This allowed citizens to have political and social freedom and equality no matter what race they are. She incorporated women's rights into 3 other reform movements: temperance, labor, and education. She also helped to organize the whole world's temperance convention in New York City. At a New York State Teachers Association meeting, she demanded that women be allowed to participate in discussions formerly only open to men. She was also angered at the fact that women and men did not get equal pay rates. In 1854, Susan began to organize petition drives for women's rights. In each county of New York State, she, along with a few others, went from door to door getting signatures for their petition to present to the legislature. About 23 years later, from 26 states, she gathered about 10,000 signatures for her petition. Then, in 1868, Anthony and Stanton began to publish a newspaper for women's rights. The issue that was released was named The Revolution. It originated in New York City, and the first issue appeared in January. Principle, not policy. Individual rights and responsibilities. This was the article written about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. In May of 1869, Anthony and Stanton formed the National Women's Suffrage Association. What this organization focused on was securing a federal women's suffrage amendment, as well as gaining the right to vote. Anthony decided to test the constitutionality of the ban on women's suffrage in 1872. She, with the many of the other women, registered to vote in Rochester, New York. She then proceeded to vote in the presidential election. Susan B. Anthony was arrested for voting in the presidential election. Then, a whole year later, she was tried in the U.S. District Court.
The trial was unfair because the judge did not even poll the jury before pronouncing her guilty. She was given a fine of $100, which she never paid.
In the late 1870s, Anthony, along with Stanton and Matilda Jocelyn Gage, began to undertake the difficult task of writing the massive image of Anthony's inscription on history of women's suffrage. The first 3 volumes were published in 1886.
Then, by 1888, Susan B. Anthony had changed her concern for national women's suffrage to worldwide women's rights when she founded the International Council of Women.
Susan acted as the head of the U.S. delegation to the meetings in London in 1899 and in Berlin in 1904.
Susan B. Anthony died in 1906 at the old age of 86 from heart failure and pneumonia. And not until 1920 did women gain the right to vote. Although she wasn't alive to see women gain that right, she still made a huge impact on gaining it.
Soon after her death, Susan B. Anthony appeared on a silver dollar coin and was the first woman to ever appear on any type of U.S. coin. The U.S. coin represented her and all of the hard work she put in to create the 19th Amendment.
Susan B. Anthony helped American women gain the right to vote. Even though the amendment wasn't ratified until years after her death, it was her and the help of many other women who put the work into gaining it for the future generations.
Susan B. Anthony was a great role model and an amazing idol for girls to follow after. She set up a movement that changed our country and the way we live today. Without her, we would not be able to vote or do many other jobs. Here is a timeline of the movement and what Susan B. Anthony did to gain women's rights.
Thank you.